All right, let's get into it. Today, we're putting on our detective hats to solve a classic grammar mystery, the case of the connecting words. We're about to find out how some of the smallest words in English do some of the absolute heaviest lifting in our sentences. I mean, really think about it. You've got a simple sentence, but you want to add more detail, more flavor, without having to start a whole new thought. So how do you build that bridge? Well, that is the very mystery we are cracking today, and the answer is a special kind of word that's basically a master connector. And here's our solution. Our key piece of evidence, the relative pronoun. This is the culprit we've been looking for. Its entire job is to link a descriptive phrase, what the grammar nerds call a relative clause, directly to the person, place, or thing it's talking about. You can think of it as the superglue that holds richer, more detailed sentences together. Okay, so to really understand our subject, we need to know how it operates. Every good detective knows you have to figure out the suspect's methods, right? So let's look at the three main jobs a relative pronoun pulls off every single time. These are the crucial clues to how it all works. Now, what's really cool about this is how it breaks down their whole MO. First, the pronoun always points back to a noun that came just before it. Simple enough. Second, it acts as that bridge we talked about, connecting the extra info to that noun. And third, and this is the really clever part, it doesn't just connect the clause, it actually has a job inside of it. Let's dig into that third job, because this is what makes relative pronouns so darn efficient. They aren't just lazy connectors, they actually roll up their sleeves and take on a role. They can be the subject doing the action, or they can be the object receiving the action, all within that little description they just introduced. And this example just lays it out perfectly. Look at this sentence. The teacher who helped me stayed late. The main core sentence is just, the teacher stayed late. That middle part, who helped me, is just describing the teacher. But inside that description, who's doing the helping? The word who is. It's the subject of the verb helped. See that? It's doing two jobs at once. All right, now that we know how these words operate, let's meet the main players. This is our lineup of the usual suspects you're going to find at the scene of almost any descriptive clause. And just like in any good detective story, each one has its own specialty. So here they are. You got who, our specialist for people. Then there's which handles things and ideas. That is the versatile one, the all-rounder. It works for both people and things. And whose is the expert in ownership. It's all about possession. Knowing their specific job is the key to spotting them in the wild. Now, let's quickly clear up something that trips people up all the time, the whole who versus whom thing. It's actually pretty simple. Who is the subject, just like in our teacher example. Whom is the object. It's way more formal, and honestly, you hear it less and less these days. For instance, the coach whom we thanked. In that bit, we is the subject doing the thanking, and whom, the coach, is the object getting thanked. Then we have this very special suspect. What? This one kind of breaks the rules. Remember how we said a relative pronoun points back to a noun right before it? Well, what doesn't do that? It cleverly has the noun built right in. So when you say something like, take what you need, it's just a shorter way of saying, take the thing that you need. What is doing the work of two words? It's a little two-for-one deal. Okay, detective, you know the suspects, you know their methods. Now you need the right tools to actually find them out there. So let's get your detective's toolkit stocked up with a couple of foolproof techniques for identifying a relative pronoun every single time. The first tool is the easiest one. Just look at the location. It's all about where the word is sitting in the sentence. Just ask yourself two simple questions. 1. Does this word show up immediately after a noun? And 2, does it kick off a phrase that gives me more information about that exact noun? If you can say yes to both, you've almost certainly found one. But here it is, the master key, the most powerful tool in your kit, the clause removal test. You see, a real relative clause is just extra information. It adds detail, sure, but the main sentence should still be able to stand on its own without it. So the test is to just mentally chop out that clause and see if the sentence that's left still makes sense. Let's test it out on this sentence. The dog that barked all night is finally asleep. Okay, the clause we're suspicious of is that barked all night. It comes right after the noun dog, and it seems to describe it. So let's run the test. So after we pull out that barked all night, we are left with a simple core sentence. The question is, does it work? Yes, absolutely.
The dog is finally asleep is a perfectly good sentence. It's less detailed, yeah, but it's a complete thought. And that successful test confirms that barked all night is a relative clause, which makes that our culprit, a relative pronoun doing its job perfectly. That's your big clue.
And hey, here's a little bonus tip for the advanced detectives out there. Have you noticed how many of these words can have ever tacked onto the end? Whoever, whichever, whatever? When you do that, you create what are called indefinite relative pronouns. So in a sentence like, take whatever you want, the word whatever is doing the job. It's another great little clue to keep in your back pocket.
And there you have it. We've looked at the evidence, we've identified the suspects, and we've learned the techniques. Case closed. But your job isn't over. The real skill is using all this knowledge to spot these connectors out in the real world, in everything you read and everything you write.
So here is your final takeaway. A simple little checklist for your detective's notebook. When you see a word you think might be one, just ask these 3 questions. Does it come after a noun? Does it add info about that noun? And does it connect that info to the main sentence? If you can check all 3 boxes, then congratulations, you found your culprit. We've seen how these tiny, tiny words can build huge, complex ideas. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Now that you've cracked this case and you have the tools to see the hidden structure underneath it all, what other grammar mysteries are out there, just hiding in plain sight, waiting for you to solve them?